Finally, the climax of the scroll is Mount Tai, the highest point on the eastern seaboard of China. It's been a sacred mountain for millennia. And here too, the painting is not representational, it's map-like. There's no way you can actually see the path up to the summit of the mountain, but it's presented that way so it's immediately recognizable. The city of Tai'an at the foot of the mountain is, again, a kind of a toy symbol. It's labeled so we know what we're looking at, but again, it's the larger-than-life figures that carry the narrative. Here we are waiting for the emperor's arrival. They're sweeping the ground, cleaning things up. They have an altar set, waiting for the emperor to come, and we are allowed to follow the figures up to the very summit of the mountain, where we see the name of the mountain clearly written with the sacred temple on the top. So the northern-style monumental landscape presented in its rich detail with all of this animated brushwork, blue-green palette, was a way of not only creating an emblem of the emperor's this new age that he was ushering in, but of course Mount Tai was a very symbolic place in China. Emperors for the last 2 millennia had gone there to worship heaven, report on the state of affairs down below. For a Manchu ruler to do this was to signify that he had become an Orthodox Confucian monarch who was truly fit to rule all of China. It was a way of asserting his legitimacy. So this was the symbolic climax of this scroll. The scroll ends 5 feet later. The next 5 feet show us 2 days of travel, but nothing happened there. So the last 5 feet rapidly take us to the end of the scroll. What the real focus is this mountain. Now in the 7th scroll, which is also on view in the galleries, we have a different landscape. This is the southern well-watered landscape of the Yangtze River Delta area. During this leg of the journey, the emperor followed the Grand Canal to the city of Suzhou, where he arrived sometime in, I guess it was early April. Spring has arrived in the south. It's much greener, lusher. We see the dense population along the myriad canals that crisscross the landscape. Rice is being cultivated here, rice paddies rather than mountain wheat or corn. So what we get is a landscape that Wang Hui was much more intimately familiar with. When we arrive at the outskirts of Suzhou, we see one of the great scenic sites of the city, Tiger Hill, where you have the 1,000-Man Rock as one of the sites, many of the different pavilions, all of them named, inscribed so that we can identify exactly where we are, and again, presented in a way that you can clearly see the details. The climax of the 7th scroll is the emperor's arrival at the city gates of Suzhou. The artist uses this wonderful sweeping diagonal with kind of vortex-like motions of the boats and the houses, the streets, all drawing our eye right down to this climactic moment where the red carpet has been set out. The city fathers are all gathered. The bodyguards are arrayed on either side of the carpet. It was nightfall when Kangxi arrived, but of course you don't want to obscure any of the details. So the image of the 2 men carrying lanterns is the only indication that in fact Kangxi arrived when it was almost dark. And finally, we see the emperor himself sitting placidly in his royal barge, about to disembark, looking straight out at the viewer. One of the things about this tour was that the common people were allowed to look upon the imperial visage. So this was one way in which Kangxi enlisted popular support. He also gave tax relief to every province he traveled through, offered other boons. But this was a chance for the artist to show off the sort of popular welcome that greeted him, and the next 20 feet of the scroll show him moving through the streets of Suzhou. But here he is looking out at us 310 years after Wang Hui completed the painting. We too have a chance to look upon the emperor's visage, as Wang Hui did himself in 1698 when he presented these paintings to the emperor. He was given an audience with Kangxi, at which time the emperor presented him with 4-character encomium: landscapes, clear and radiant. It's the title of the show. I could think of nothing better than to quote the emperor's own laudatory comment about Wang Hui. It's been an extraordinary journey for me to bring these paintings here, and I hope between now and January 4th that you'll join Kangxi and Wang Hui on their journey to Suzhou and to New York. Thank you.